It seems we're live. The stream is coming to your door. Could it be? Might be. We're live. And is there anybody out there? Is there anybody listening? No, because we haven't shared the stream yet. That is why we have a little bit of margin here, because we're actually only starting in like 3 minutes. So I haven't posted anything yet, but there we go. We're live. Awesome. And I'm just going to check that you guys have access to the study material. You do. That's awesome. Okie dokie. Very pleased. How are you guys doing? Are you doing okay? Can you see and hear me? We're gonna start very soon. Just 2 minutes left here. And it's gonna be a very fun topic, I can assure you. Almost as fun as a polka. But just almost. So, are COVID restrictions lifting in your area? Can you go outside and actually meet people? Would be interesting to know. We can here. So things are starting to ease up. Hopefully it will last. We'll see. Can get some spring on top of that. Wouldn't hurt. We'll see about that. Oof, only 1 minute left. Makes me nervous. I have to shred. When there's just 1 minute left, gotta play really fast. Otherwise you won't have time to play all those notes. That's actually a bit of a misunderstood fact there. The reason we play so fast is because the gigs only last for a few hours, so we really gotta play all those notes a whole bunch of times. Ha ha ha! Joke. That's a joke. I should really stop joking now. Just displays my crazy... How do you say nervosity? Is that a word in English? The fact that I'm nervous. In Swedish it would be nervositet. Woo! Time is right. The time is now. It's now or never, because now is when our live stream starts. It's the holy time of 5 p.m. CT. We got Mario in the room! Mario, how you doing? The mic is yours. Are you doing good? I hope you are. Today is Shreddy Day. It's Shreddy time. Today will not be a beginner-friendly topic, but, and that's a big but, it might still inspire a whole lot of beginners to become more advanced. Now, if that's not good, then I don't know what is. Xitrumas, what's up, my man? Been missing ya. How you doing? Here's a riff just for you. Are you even into like heavier music? This is, I guess, it's a bit trashy. No. Oh, that. Never mind. So I was saying, today's topic is going to be pretty cool because it's not going to be that beginner friendly, but it's going to be super cool. So beginners will want to become intermediate players. Now that's even better than I would say, beginner topics. Who knows? Anyhow, we are going to speak about how you can include some really melodic lines inside of your shred runs. Why is this important? I hear you ask. Well, because without melody, shred is nothing. Melody has to be the basis for your shredding. Otherwise, it's just going to sound like a long fart, okay? We don't want that. We want it to sound really cool. And in order to achieve that, we gotta throw in some melody. So I have prepared 3 licks that I use as melodic kickstarters, basically to kickstart my shred runs. So I know if I use these licks, it'll send me off shredding. And not only that, but it's gonna give me a super melodic and, well, at least to me, it sounds very melodic and very musical. So it gives me a musical start to my shred runs, which, you know, that's like music to my ears. Pun intended. Oh no, we don't want that. Okay, so without any further ado, you should check out the link in the description that says study material, because in there is going to be your holy Bible of melodic shredding. In there, you will find my absolute top melodic licks for shredding. So you just have to click that link and you're gonna see some tabs, some scale diagrams. There's even a guitar profile, so you can really get the rhythm of what I'm playing. And there's actually also a backing track and like a lesson suggestion if you want to dive further into shred improvisation and stuff like that. Okay, but I'm just gonna show you quickly kind of the idea here, how it's supposed to sound. So let me just fire up the backing track here. So the idea is, instead of just doing like, you know, just, okay, let's play fast. Like that, we don't want that, right? We want something that kind of grooves along more nicely with the music. So maybe something like, so you can use that as a starting point, which is the idea. I'm starting with something melodic. I'm gonna fix the levels a little bit, which gives my shred run, which hopefully is gonna come afterwards, it gives it a really nice musical start. So that's basically the whole idea with this stream. But it's a cool topic, and I don't think a lot of time the shredding is approached this way. I often tend to see like a separation between, you know, playing fast and shredding and other more melodic aspects. And I think that's a shame, because those two need to work together. If only I could put my fingers together in a natural way, I would be able to show you how important that is. But I can't. So you're just gonna have to trust my words. It's so important that shred and melody go hand in hand, right? It's, you know, because otherwise, again, your shredding is just gonna sound like farts without musical content, and your melodies are gonna basically lack that cool tension that you've worked so hard for, you know, when practicing your chops, right? So we need those two to blend together. That's when we're gonna get the musical excitement. And that's what I'm gonna show you today. I'm gonna show you how to achieve that magic blend. Okay. I think we have, we got Dean here. Awesome, Dean. What's up, my man? Awesome to have you here. So, let's dive straight into it here. We have. The first lick here that says D major pentatonic slide lick. So the backing track we're going to be using now is going to be in the key of D major, or you can view it as B minor. It's the same notes. It depends what chord is being played in the background. Okay, so the very first lick here, it uses this pentatonic scale, and we're gonna slide from the we're gonna slide up to the 11th fret there. You could start on the 9th fret, and then we're gonna slide back, which gives it a slightly, I would say, unorthodox sound. It has kind of weird timing, basically. Like that. Comdesk, what's up, my man? I hope you're doing good. So, weird phrasing, but trust me, it'll be well worth it. Because not only do you stand a chance of sounding more original if you use something that has a weird phrasing, but also, I think these kind of weird slides, they really add those harmonics to the notes, or that little bit of extra information that just spices up your lines, as opposed to playing. Little boring, right? And then we're gonna sort of, how do you say, fall down here. Listen to this. That's like, in my head, I hear that as something that's falling down. Okay, and then we're just gonna go back up. Nothing too fancy there. So I think you should, have a look at the tab and, come back to this video, pause it, and try to, figure it out exactly. But this often seems to, again, kick me off and have me shred, right? So it's one of those things, if I play that, I just have to do some shredding. Now, granted, this lesson does not cover the actual shredding, right? I have many other lessons. If you follow the link on GMC, that's going to show you how to do that. This lesson is more about, focusing on this specific aspect. I use these little in-between licks to, as I've been saying here, throw my shredding in a good direction, okay? So that's the first one. It's pretty cool sounding on its own, I would say. So you don't have to shred with that. You can just, add some variations to that. That works equally good. I don't know. It just, it inspires me. So I hope the same is going to happen to you. If this is way above your head technically, don't worry about not playing the whole thing. Just try to borrow one little thing from this lick. If you can play something that is fun to you, that's gonna lead you to good things. So you don't have to think that, whoa, unless I can play that whole big thing, this is useless to me, so I'll just go cry in my corner. Don't do that. It's not necessary. You can be here with us, you can, be happy, and you can just play a part of it, right? Awesome lick right there. Why not? So lots of cool, I think, useful material here, regardless of your level. However, it is time for us to proceed, as I'm dying here. No, I'm not. Pentatonic legato phrasing, lick number 2. Again, check that link in the description. And the second lick says pentatonic legato phrasing. So this is a cool one. Oh, I like it. Let me play it a few times and then I'll show it. No, wrong. That's it. Wrong. I'm just playing some variations here. Again, it inspires me to do this kind of stuff. So let me show you once again how this sounds in context. So I'm gonna grab the backing track again. Okay. Works well just as a, a lick on its own. Nothing wrong with it. But to me, it really comes to life as this kind of shred kickstarter. So let's do that. So let me do, while I have this backing track rolling, let's do the first one as well. Okay. So let me show you in detail how I go about playing this pentatonic legato phrasing lick. It's super pentatonic by nature, so if you've ever played this trusty pentatonic box, you're gonna recognize what we're doing here. So, starting on the 7th fret, we're doing a hammer-on. Moving on to the next fret doing, no, next string. Doing that kind of thing where we, and then hammer on and pull off. We have this. Sometimes I like to use my hybrid finger there. It's not a necessity. You can play with your pick. In fact, it's kind of easy to play with a pick. You can sort of economize the movement and just do 2 downstrokes. Like that, if you want to. Just that is pretty cool on its own. It really showcases the rather big intervals we have in the pentatonic scale. So we have again, pause the video, check this out. You can return to the video later on. It's kind of nice on its own. It lands on that root note, if you think of it as B minor, and it works on its own. But I tend to sort of go into some legato thing after this, so I would do... For example, just go down to maybe the root note an octave lower, basically, doing legato here. Or maybe we'll throw them in the other direction, so... Something like that. It's a bit crazy, but for me this kind of thinking works. So again, if this feels extremely difficult for you to play, you could definitely just, you know, kind of grab the concept here. The concept is that I'm kind of mixing 2 different things here. One thing that's more melodic and another thing that's more technical by nature. And when I do that, I kind of get the best out of 2 worlds, you could say. Because again, that I'm spicing up the melody and I'm also melodying up the shred, if that makes sense. I don't know, but yeah, hopefully this gives you some ideas at least. We have, you know, and I'd just want to clarify, you know, feel free to stop me at any point if you, maybe I'm way too fast or something, or maybe way too slow, whatever, just give me a shout. Maybe you have some question that's related to this, but not quite on topic. Just shoot. Could be anything. Maybe you want to ask me why I'm hiding my hair under my hat. You won't know unless you ask, right? And I'm not going to tell you, so you have to ask. Just kidding, of course. It's just a very, very bad, lousy joke. Everybody knows my hair is so beautiful. It can't be damaged by the photo light in the studio here. Okay, so number 3 here. 3 note per string kickstarter. Let's try it out. Yeah, we gotta jam some more, right? Jamming is cool. We have our backing track. Again, you have a link in the backing track, and this time around you even have like the long version for free. So even if you don't have a GMC account, you don't have to register. I think it's you have to go to the related Chris lesson. In there, you're gonna find the backing for free. If you go to the other one, Keith Scott style, you're gonna get the short one for free. But whatever, I included both links there. Krobillus, what's up? Ahaha, Comdes, new haircut. So basically you think that I failed with my haircut and that's why I'm hiding it. I like it, but I need more suggestions before I reveal the truth. Who has another guess about my hair? This is important stuff, guys. You have to make your guesses around my hair. I don't know if you're aware, but for most shredders, the actual strength lies in the hair. That is why in the 80s, when things were new, people let their hair grow. Then people got better and, you know, they got better technique. And now you don't necessarily need long hair if you got good chops. But in the beginning, it was critical. So yes, hair is important. I'm sure Krobillus agrees with me. And if he doesn't, he is free to say so. We have an open climate here. It's a good climate for debate. Everyone can have their say about my haircut. The worst thing that could happen would be that I ban you for life. Just kidding. I've never done it. And if you criticize my hair, I would, that's such an overreaction. No one's gonna dare say anything about my hair now. But that's okay. It's okay, because we're gonna shred now. Okay, number 3. Let's check it out. Out of the craziness, here comes something. One more time. Krobelus has his guitar, that's awesome. We should practice now. Okay, so this lick on itself is not that fun, but I use it all the time to start my shredding out, like this. I just failed. Something like that, maybe? Okay, so what am I doing here? I'm just gonna pause the backing track. So I think this is an interesting one. I couldn't really come up with a neat way of making this sound super good on its own. So on its own, it sounds like this, and this is what I've tabbed to you. Kind of boring if you ask me. A little bit better if you speed it up. You could add that final little blues bend if you wanted. That would make it a bit more musical. But again, I don't know. It's not, extremely cool, I would say. So the good stuff here comes from this. This is a very good kickstarter for me. I don't know why. It's just something in the way the notes are being accentuated with staccato, right? The first notes, that's why there's a little dot there over them in the tab. This means staccato, so we're killing each note right after we picked it. So starting on the 7th fret, we pick, we kill. Pick and kill. And then 9, pick, kill. And then 10, pick and kill. Pick and kill is the theme of the day. Pick your note and kill it. Sorry, couldn't help myself. Okay, so we have like that, 7, 9, 10. Like that. Now, after that comes a legato line, and the contrast between those two, to me, is really inspiring, right? We have... So we have staccato meeting legato. And for some reason, when I hear this, my mind tells me, ooh, we want more fast stuff. So I just start shredding, which is why this is such a cool Kickstarter lick for me. Still no guesses on my hair. I think I've scared the crap out of you. So we have... Okay, so the whole thing, 7, 9, 10, then starts legato, right? Down to 10, and then a short little legato before we return to 10 again, and then finally land on 7. So if we speed it up, I don't know. It's crazy stuff, but it's cool. So I just have to, show you a little jam with this lick because it's so cool and it really tends to inspire me. So I'm using it all the time here in my example playing. fun stuff there. So, maybe now would be a good time to sort of summarize what we've been saying here. Now, this workshop has been about you learning little tools that could help you make your shred runs more melodic. And these little tools are in the shape of 3 of my favorite licks. Now, these licks can be played on their own, and they're pretty nice on their own. I typically use them more as kickstarters for my shred runs. So that's sort of the theme of the day here. And actually, I've covered, the examples I wanted to show you. So now is a good time if you do have any other questions, and you are free to ask whatever you want, even about my hair, and I promise nothing bad is going to happen to you. Fingers crossed, nothing bad. You can ask about my hair, that's okay. But you can ask about anything else as well, maybe guitar related. Maybe you're wondering something about my sound, or about the guitar, or about something else. You could ask, or you could not. You could choose to ask. You could choose to remain in silence forever. But I should probably add, while you think about what I just said, or something else, like food. Sorry for all the jokes here. I'm going to try to be more serious next time, maybe. Depends on the mood of the day. Okay, so I should probably add that I've included 2 scales in the link in the description. One of them is the D Ionian mode, but that's just the D major scale, right? And this is a good note scale if you want to, shred, right? Because it has 3 notes per string. So if you know a little bit of shredding or some legato or picking licks, that one is going to work great. However, the other one, which is the B pentatonic minor scale, is actually the one I've used for most part in the licks I've given you. So this pentatonic scale, I would say, more suitable for your melodic kickstarters or anything that is more melodic, right? So a lot of times I will use both the pentatonic and the minor scale, and I'll be mixing them. Or the pentatonic and the major scale, whatever, but I'll be mixing like a 5-note scale with a 7-note scale. Now, 5 versus 7 might not sound like much, but it makes a big difference as all those repeats, and it basically gives you 1 note, more note per string, which makes a world of difference when you're trying to play fast. It's harder to play the pentatonic scale when you just have 2 notes as opposed to 3 notes, right? So that's usually considered harder than playing 3 notes for sure. Though both are kind of difficult, right? But I would say there's a few years in between those in terms of how long it takes to master them. So again, 3 note per string might be your friend if you're starting out with fast runs. And that is why I've given you this scale, so you can sort of goof around with it, play around with it over these backing tracks, because it's going to work well over that. And yeah, I think now might be a good time for me to play some more. And again, feel free to stop me at any time. If you have any questions, random statements, or maybe the joke of the day. You weren't expecting that one. Just kidding, of course. No jokes allowed. Only pick and kill. Oof, scary stuff. Let's do it. We got an old-timer here. Would become rocker. What's up? You're still using the scale generators. That's awesome. Yeah, we've tweaked it a little bit, and we've also added a skills game. You should check that one out. But awesome to see you again, mate. I hope you've been doing good. So would become rocker. Rocker. Have you become a rocker now? Your username would indicate that you sort of have been on the way all the time there. We want you to become a rocker, obviously. And even a shredder would be cool, so you can combine some rock and shred. That would be even better, if you ask me. People don't tend to, though. No one asks me stuff. Just kidding. Oh, you bought your house, planning my home studio, and started to really focus on improving my improv skills. That's awesome, mate. So you're come to the right place if you're working on improvs. That's what I like to do as well. Double time notes at high speed now for accuracy. Sounds good. Would become a shredder. You're on the way. That's awesome. So I don't know if YouTube allows changing of usernames there, but I guess you could consider it if it's possible. Chris would become doll, maybe. That's lousy. GMC would become axe. By the way, I don't know, would become rocker. Were you ever at the GMC forum? I don't remember. I just remember your username. But if you were, you should tune in now because we're in this very moment deciding on what the next collab should be. So I made a meme for this specific purpose, where this dude is, contemplating whether he's gonna push the shred button or the blues button. So you should tune in there with your opinion, which one would be best. So I feel like I'm sounding a bit sarcastic here. It's just that my mood of the day is really good. So we have to cherish that. So it's not every day you want to sit here and joke, so I'm doing it. There's no stopping now. So would become rocker. Do you think this topic that we covered today, is that somewhat matching where you're at? It's a kind of advanced topic there, but I still think the concept is extremely useful. It kind of forces you to not view your fast runs as just big fast stuff, just a big chunk of fast notes. It's like a bit more elaborate way of looking at it. Okay, so you want to get out of the A pentatonic scale, so basically get out of the rut. There's actually no real reason to get away from the pentatonic scale because it's awesome, but I do understand your frustration if you feel like you're stuck in the A pentatonic scale. Now what I like to do, or the advice I like to give for people who feel like they're stuck with their first pentatonic box, because I think that's a lot of people. It's such a good box and there are so many good licks and we tend to start there, and the better we get at that position, the more uncomfortable it feels, getting out of that position. I think that's often the problem. Cool. So a little tip for you here. Maybe instead of thinking, oh, I have to learn something new and play that instead, perhaps it's better to think, what can I do with this pentatonic scale to make it sound different, right? To make it sound like another scale. And it turns out there are a whole bunch of things we can do to achieve precisely that. Because if you're playing here, I'm just going to move it up to the 7th fret. Is that okay? Because the backing track happens to be here on the 7th fret, right? So you just move your A minor pentatonic scale up to the 7th fret. That's the one that's going to work here. So it turns out we have access to all those notes in this position. We have access to all the 12 notes available right here. We don't have to learn another scale or move things around, if we don't want to. So let's try that. I'm going to try to use all 12 notes, but having this, the pentatonic box that you're so sick of as your foundation there, basically. So let's try it. So no news here, right? That's probably what you're doing. Okay, but let's add some stuff to it. So that's, the flat 5, a bit depending on the tonality, but that's a cool note. You'll probably play that one. We can go all in chromatic as well. Right? To make it easier, we could just play the passing notes here. So instead of doing, which would be the standard, first 2 strings of this pentatonic box, we could do. Sounds awesome to my ears. So if you play that chromatic run and then add some like bluesy lick on top of that, it's gonna sound wonderful. Right? So what you're doing there is, theory-wise, super complex, right? We're adding the flat 9, we're adding the Dorian major 6 note, we're doing a lot of crazy stuff there. But, who cares? We don't have to think in terms of those, a bit complicated theory terms. We could just think of it as pentatonics and we're adding notes on top of it. Now, the good thing with this is, you're getting the hardest part in learning scales for free here, I would say, because the idea here is that you're trying different outside notes till you find one that you like, and you don't even have to understand or know what it's called. You can just play it because you think it sounds cool. What this does is it trains your ears so you get a connection with that outside note. And maybe a year later on, you're going to realize, oh, I was doing the Dorian note all the time, that major 6 note. Okay, cool. Then you can learn the Dorian scale and you're going to have no problem hearing what it is that makes Dorian scale different. And this is actually where I find most students struggle when learning new scales. They seem to think that it's a matter of remembering where the dots are on the fretboard, right? You have to remember the scale so you can play it. That's typically a very bad approach, because if you're struggling with remembering a scale, it probably means you're not quite, hearing that scale for what it is. You're not quite connecting with it on a musical level. And that's why I'm saying that's usually the hard part. And that hard part is actually easy to practice if you disregard all those dots and just try to add some outside notes and see if you can find one that you like. Then you can, as I said later on, really identify it in terms of what it's called, and then you can repeat it all over the fretboard, and there you're going to have a cool scale, right? So I think it's a cool approach to actually start with the pentatonic scale, even though if we might be tired to death of that sound, because again, you have that personal connection to all the notes in the pentatonic scale, so you're really going to hear when you add an extra note. You're going to hear what that note sounds like, and this is key for learning new scales. We got Brian in here, awesome, with a cool question. Thanks, man. Actually, I'm playing in all positions, even throwing some Aeolian mode here sometimes. But what I'm struggling with is how to play something more elaborate than going up and down the scale. Cool question there. Okay, so if you're tired of going up and down the scale, then I understand you, because going up and down the scale is usually not a good idea, you know? No one really wants to hear that. It's just how you tend to practice a scale the first time you're confronted with it, right? Or how you tend to play it. So, I mean, the obvious way would be to maybe find a short pattern and repeat that one instead. So, you know, instead of, you know, playing that pentatonic scale up and down, you could do... So that would be a different way. So for example, on the 7th fret here, 7, 9, and then you flatten the finger and play 9 on the next string. So you get a bit of an unpredicted hop there to 4th up, basically. And then back, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So you could, I mean, this might be like a difficult pattern, but just an example, right? And it sounds totally different if I... something. So that's one way of doing it. And the key here is to grab a short pattern. I can't stress that enough. If you grab a long pattern, well, you're just going to be playing that pattern, right? It's not really going to be useful for you when you want to create stuff of your own, because it's so long, it's going to be easily identified by you and whoever is listening. Whereas if you use a short pattern, you can combine them to your heart's content, and no one's really going to hear that you're using a whole bunch of short patterns. And a lot of times when you see someone play a long run, might appear to you as if that guitarist is playing something that's long and difficult. It might be difficult, but it could also just be tiny patterns that are glued together, right? And it's easy to practice a short pattern and get good at it. And so it's a lot of times it's more easily digestible to learn things in small chunks and then sort of piece them together on the guitar. So I don't know if that makes sense. Do let me know while I tackle Brian Galicia's question. How do you combine arpeggios with the scales? Very good question. So, I mean, you could just do it like, okay, I'm in the key of C major. So you Google C major scale and you learn the C major scale. And then you Google the C major arpeggio and you learn the C major arpeggio. But that's going to be a little bit limiting. For one, it's going to be a little bit boring to just hear the C major arpeggio. That can work, but there's a whole bunch of arpeggios that are actually hiding within the key of C major. So you don't have to only play the C major arpeggio. And I think this is kind of key answer here. And in fact, I'm going to give you a link to a live stream where I only speak about this. So if you want the long version of this reply, I think not creative arpeggios, arpeggio workshop. There we go. This is actually, I think, well, who cares? I'm just going to give it to you. There it is. I don't actually, in this very moment, remember what I said there, but it's about arpeggios. Okay, so the thing is, as I'm quite sure you're aware, there are several different chords that make up the key of C major, right? So if you're playing in the key of C major, you might play a C chord, you might play an A minor chord, you might even play an F chord, or maybe a G7, so on and so forth. So there's a whole bunch of chords that belong to a specific key. And, you know, that's a topic of its own, but if you Google it, you're going to find a lot of cool explanations there. But what this leads me to conclude is that there are also a bunch of arpeggios that belong to this key, because an arpeggio is just a chord that is broken up into individual notes, right? We're not playing it a whole chord where all the notes ring together. Instead, we're doing, you know, that's the only difference. It's the same notes, but they're played differently, okay? So the idea here is to play those arpeggios that are contained within the scale. In this case, I happen to be in the key of like B minor or D major. So there's a whole bunch of arpeggios there. So this allows me to mix like the key of B minor pentatonic if I want to, or like D major with arpeggios. Now I realize that was quick. The whole point is that you should Google diatonic arpeggios. Find the arpeggios that are contained within the scale. And it doesn't even have to be complicated theory-wise, because, you know, if you know like a major and a minor shape, and then you learn like a few boxes of like a minor or major scale, then you're gonna see how these shapes actually fit into that grid of the scale. So basically, you know, if you learn this D major scale, or whatever, and you stare at it for long enough, and you also learned like a minor arpeggio shape, then you're gonna see that, oh, those notes are contained within that scale box. Aha, it makes so much more sense. I no longer have to study theory and memorize the different arpeggios in the different keys. I can just see them within my scale shapes. So I guess that would be the answer to the question. Those arpeggio shapes can be seen within these scale shapes on the fretboard. So I don't know if this makes sense. Hopefully it's helpful, Brian. Feel free to ask me a follow-up question. By the way, I don't know why, but the topic of this lesson reminds me of your video Groovy Shred lesson that I love. Cool, that's awesome. From Ultimate Guitar. I was probably in a good mood that day as well. Okie dokie. Pretty cool questions there. That's pretty awesome. I guess since we're all here now, maybe I should just show you, you know, the backing track. Oh, wrong. The backing track is using, oh man, I'm really bad at this. Okay, it's using this, I'm using the backing track from this lesson, right? So I'm just using the jam track. But just for variation here, let's listen to Guido's playing. We're two totally different guitarists. But he came up with this awesome backing track. And he has some fantastic chops and feel for melody. Check it out. So these melodies could also be used as a foundation between your shred runs. Woo, nice! Just ruining his lines. You know, and I'm not gonna plug GMC here, but then you have, of course, if you want to learn all these parts, you have them with the tab and stuff like that. Okay, cool. I just thought I'd show you. It's a pretty cool one. But we also have here a link to, no, I thought we did. Link to my old lesson. If you scroll down to the link I gave you, Jam School Shred Improvisation, where I play the Black Solar. I got to borrow that one from Ola, and I gave it back to him, but then he gave me this one which has the Evertune bridge. So that's the one I'm with now. And what I want to show you is, in this lesson, you have the whole jam track for free here if you want to. So even if you're not logged in, if you don't have an account, you can still. But that's a young Chris you're seeing there. Probably like a whole bunch of years younger. Let me see. Oh, 2018, that's 4 years. Man, almost didn't need a cap back then. But anyhow, should we try to find something? Let's see. Cool, we got X-Kid. Good to see you again, man. Awesome to have you here. How you been doing? How you how you been or how you doing. You can't mix those two. We've been mixing melodic lines and shredding. That works much better, promise you. Cool, Brian thinks it's helpful. That's awesome, man. I have a difficult question though. Is it better to stick to the A scale throughout the backing track? Or can we switch to a different key? Cool question. So whether you can switch to a different key is dictated by the backing track, right? Now I realize maybe you're asking something else here, but first of all, if there is a modulation, like you're going from one key to another, you can't do that unless the backing track is also going from one key to another. However, what you might be asking there is, you know, if you can switch between the relative major and minor, and that's perfectly fine most of the time, right? So like this, or whatever it is, you have, you know, the D major tonality here, B minor. So it goes from relative major to relative minor. So when that happens, then you can play, you know, you just stick to the key and you're gonna play the minor scale when the chord is changing to minor, and you don't have to think about it, right? So if you stick to the tonality, it doesn't matter what the backing chord is, pretty much. At least when we're discussing, you know, major and minor like this. So the only downside with doing this, if you only do this, is that it's actually pretty good to be in control, so that you know exactly what the major notes are and how they sound. So even if the shapes happen to be the same, and even if you can kind of remain within your shapes and disregard whatever chord is being played in the background, even so, it's a good idea to, you know your harmonies basically, and know them, how they sound. Salut Jonathan, comment vas-tu? Jonathan Garniche. C'est super parce que je dois vraiment exercer mon français. Je joue la guitare souvent, mais le français, je parle pas souvent. Alors j'apprécie ton présence. I appreciate your presence. I don't know if that was right. I tried at least. Cool. So I don't know if that makes sense. Would become rocker. If you stick to the key, it's going to be correct, right? But if you want to have control, then it's a good idea to really know whether, you know, major or minor is happening, and, you know, how those scale shapes look. But I can reveal a little secret here, that for a very long time I have been totally unaware of what's happening in the background, and it's still a lot of fun, I can tell you, playing. And there's more of a surprise element and an element of unpredictability, basically, if you don't know what's going on. So sometimes I'll just throw myself into a difficult backing track where I know that there's a big risk I might mess up, and a big risk it might not work, you know, sticking to a key, just because it can really land you in some interesting places. So it all depends, you know, whether you're, like, if you're just starting out, then maybe you want to play it safe. But if you've been playing for years and years like me, and you're sort of getting tired of, you know, the way you sound, and you want new tones and more unpredictability, then it might actually be a good idea to not always know what's going on theory-wise. Just thought I'd say that. Bon français, c'est très bien, merci. So I actually lived in Switzerland for a while. So I don't know if that's reflected in my French. Some people say it doesn't really sound like French. And it doesn't sound like, you know, Canada French either. Québécois. Québécois. Sorry, couldn't help myself. Can you show to use harmonic scales in solos? Harmonic, do you mean like harmonic minor scale? Is that it? Or do you mean like using harmonics like that? Let me know and I'll show you either one of them. So while you get back to me on that one, I'm just gonna see if I can find harmonic minor. Sorry, got a bit too French right there.
We are
harmonic minor. Do we have some cool harmonic minor? Oh, this is like a, I think this is, could be a cool, like a brutal lesson here. Let's try it out by Atla. I'm scared. I'm really scared. Can someone help me? This is brutal. Does this qualify? I'm holding my pick, so yeah, now it's better, right? This isn't so metal, right? Yeah, my pinky. So this is better. Here we go. Now I'm metal. You could almost see my hair grow out and my beard just by doing this. Sorry. This isn't really fair. Harmonic minor, okay. Perfect. We're in D minor. Man, I'm not used to these grindcore beats or whatever they are. Oh, this is so cool. I wish I could play this. I feel like I'm really crappy at this. I'm just gonna give you the link there. Maybe you can do it much better there. But that was tricky. Let me do something like an Yngwie thing. That would be easier. This wasn't really, you know, what I'm used to. Damn it. Sounds like I need to practice. Damn it. So let's try this. I think maybe this one would be more classic Yngwie. So A minor harmonic, well, A harmonic minor now. Yeah, this would probably be. Ooh, Mixolydian H2O, awesome man, how are you doing? Could you give some tips for new lead guitars who are attempting to upload videos on YouTube? And I am currently creating some soul covers as well. Awesome, mate, awesome. So just a bit of playing there while I think of how to answer that. So, Yngwie style. Oh, it's more my bag, I think. The other one was just too difficult. I guess you have to do a bit of... I don't know. Oh, wait, maybe it's not. I don't know. Ask Yngwie instead. I can't do it. But there you have it. Bit of harmonic minor there at least. Sorry, I suck. It's my parents' fault. I'm not to blame. They made me. It's not my fault that they were relative to start with. Just kidding. Man, today is a bad joke day. My parents were not siblings, even though it might appear that way. But I can tell you there are various reasons for hair loss. Parents being siblings is only one of them, right? Could be many other things. So that's a good one. The reason I can't play like Yngwie is because my parents were siblings. I haven't heard that one before. We should make a meme out of that. But anyhow, so Mixolydian and H2O, you might be asking the wrong guy, right? Because I can't say my successes on YouTube are very recent. But the thing is, I've been on YouTube from scratch, almost. So my personal account was kind of big in the beginning of YouTube. I did some humor videos and stuff like that. But then, I didn't really keep it up, and turned out my primitive humor was no longer fun back then, later on in 2010 and 2015. So and then what I did later on, like by the time I realized my primitive humor was no longer fun, I started doing, coming up with these ideas for like really long guitar medleys. And I asked, the instructors on the GMC website if they could, make a reality out of my ideas. And that's how we got the 40 technique solo, the 30 shredders, stuff like that. But it's interesting you're asking, because I think that market is a bit oversaturated now. You could spend 2 years doing a really long video and maybe no one would care at the end of the day, because there's so much similar stuff. And we really found that, the first like 5 or 10 we did were really successful, but then it was harder and harder. Again, the market was getting saturated there. But I think we were out in good time there, good timing. So nowadays, I can't really tell you any magic formula, because if I knew one, I'd apply it. But it does seem to me that it's, basically what I'm doing here, you really have to, speak to your audience, connect with them, and take the time. You can't just, play an amazing solo, upload it, and be done with it, right? I think that's part of the key now. There are so many good content creators and so many good guitarists to choose from. So you're not going to choose the one who's basically not showing any presence, who doesn't want to connect with you, doesn't take the time to speak to you, maybe doesn't do any live streams like this one. So I think you need an all-in-one package right now, or you need something very, very innovative, like maybe some innovative humor as opposed to mine. Sorry, just kidding. You need something that really feels fresh and new. You need someone whose parents are not siblings. So I'm trying to get my humor up to standards now, up to 2022 standards. But I guess post-corona, maybe demands are not quite as, or maybe you don't have to be that good anymore. I don't know. Anything qualifies as a joke now, as long as not Corona or something. That was really bad. Can you excuse me? Here's a tip. When you make a bad joke, just play very loud and fast. Then people won't think of the joke. They'll just think of how much of a show-off you are. It could work. You never know until you try. Wow! Sorry. Okay, yeah. I'm currently creating some solo covers as well. Well, I actually think that covers can be cool as well. I don't know if it's as saturated. Maybe you can find some more niche stuff that hasn't been covered. And also it goes down to quality, I guess, in the end. I think you could really get away with some shitty stuff in the beginning of YouTube, but nowadays it's got to be really good. It's got to sound good. Not only do you have to perform well, but the production's got to be pretty cool. The video's got to be pretty cool. Everything has got to be better, cooler, better. And who does it benefit? Mr. Google. That's also a kind of saddening thing to think about. You could see it as you're working for free for this giant corporation. And, at the end of the day, maybe you can monetize your channel, if you get big enough. But until then, you're just going to be working for free and they're going to... So, yeah. But anyhow. Yeah, Ichikanito is really cool. Tim Henderson as well. Or Tim Henson, can't even pronounce it. But Ichika is very cool because, play that kind of stuff with a clean sound is just unbelievable. And also the fact that he does have that clean sound and those fantastic chordal chops and writing skills and arranging skills is really an interesting combination, I would say. Not only does he have those crazy chops, again, to play those runs with the clean tone, but then, he's able to throw in some really nice harmonies, which would just sound like a big mess, right? If you were doing it with distortion. So yeah, very, very cool player. I beg to agree. So melodic minor is great for melodies. Melodic minor is a tricky beast if you ask me. I mean, if you just play it like that, it sounds kind of weird. And this is a scale that's taken me kind of years to appreciate. But now I like it, but to me it sounded horrible for the first years. Very, very crazy scale there. And it's definitely a standard scale in jazz, and also because I think when you move it up a half step, it becomes that altered scale, which is just supposed to sound totally out. And it's an interesting concept. If I only put... Yeah. Let's see. Most impressive. Can you maybe show us how you practice? Not just random playing, but practice something which is valuable. That's a pretty cool question. I just have to... I think I actually did a long live example practice session. There we have it. Now it's more on spot. So I will show you this now, but if you want the long version, I've already done it in a live stream, so you can check that out later on. So this is obviously a topic that is very close to my heart because I love practicing and I love progressing. That's something I don't think it's hard to not like practicing if you like progressing, right? So it goes hand in hand. But the thing is, it's very individual how you practice. And it should be, because we're all individuals. We're all different, right? So if my method of practicing worked for everyone else, it would mean that everyone else would be the same guy as me, and that would be kind of boring. Everybody would be siblings, and their parents would be siblings as well. We wouldn't want that, right? So that's a good thing. We're all different as individuals. So that's why we tend to create different music. That's why we also need different practice routines. But not only is it different depending on your personality, but it also is going to be different depending on what phase you're in. And that's super important. So if you are a complete beginner, I would give you very, very different advice, obviously, than if you were, advanced. But it wouldn't be on the like, oh, well, you shouldn't shred, right? You should do, it's not quite as simple, right? Because in the beginning, we have to consider that most people tend to put their instruments down pretty quickly, right? So the advice I would give a beginner would be totally related to not putting the guitar down. So basically I would say, do anything as long as it inspires you to keep practicing. So if you do that for a couple of weeks, then maybe you're ready for some more advanced advice. But always, always, the priority should be to remain inspired, okay? That's probably the most important thing I can tell you, regardless of your level. It's the best generic advice I can give you. Be sure to remain inspired. Everything else is lower priority. Why? Well, if you're not inspired, it doesn't matter what advice I give you, you're not gonna pick the guitar up, right? And if you don't play, then what good is my advice, right? So you always, always have to do what is required for you to remain inspired. That is also how I structure my practice sessions. I know that if I practice shredding day after day after day, I will lose inspiration. So what do? Is there no standard anymore? Sorry, that's a Pantera tune. It has nothing to do with what I was saying. I just said it anyway. And actually I shouted. So what I do, instead of, playing the shredding or practicing exercises and shredding every day, I'll do that one day and then I'll kind of move sideways and do something totally different. It could be exploring like a different genre. Maybe I'll just play some blues. It could even be like something that is I'm totally uncomfortable with, right? I've been doing these kind of, that kind of thing. I'm crap at that. And I think a lot of people are afraid of, doing that sideways move because when they try something they're not comfortable with, basically they're like, oh, no, it feels bad. I'm bad. I suck. I don't want to play. But you have to sort of go into that kind of thing, knowing that it's going to sound bad. The goal shouldn't really be for it to sound super cool. The goal should be that you're having fun, right? And that brings me to my second point. When I practice, not only is my number one priority to remain inspired, but to actually achieve this, I have to make sure my practice sessions are fun, right? Why would I want to return to something that isn't fun? It absolutely makes no sense. So in order for you to want to pick up the guitar every day, you're going to have to make sure your practicing is fun and inspiring to you, okay? Now it's going to be different, again, depending on who you are as a person and in what learning phase you are, right? So my practicing also changes because I go through phases and I go through personality changes. Sorry, couldn't resist it. If you saw my stream like 4 days ago, you're gonna think I actually went through a personality change. Anyhow, I'm just trying to say that it's all different, right? Having said this, I'm going to show you how I would practice today, or how I did practice today. Today, I made a second attempt at recording a jam over a super cool backing track. I made an attempt yesterday, which I thought was really cool until I uploaded it to my Facebook feed, or whatever you call it. And then I realized that it wasn't cool at all. It sounded like crap and was horrible. It made me cry. So I was kind of saddened by that. It's like, how could I, for a second, even think that sounded good? Now I know the reason why, because I was completely focused on certain amount of groove and stuff like that. Oh, damn it, come on. But yeah, so it's this backing track. I'm just gonna search for Cream. There we go. Cream style. So this backing track doesn't sound like that much, but it's cool because it has a good groove and it's really dynamic. It takes you through softer sections and wilder sections. So I had to kind of try to refine my ideas. I was doing the so that's all good, but when improvising, I found myself to kind of drift away from the groove. So I had to improvise until the point where I messed up. Then I had to pause the backing track and try to fix it, basically, try to practice it again and again until I could no longer encounter passages where I got totally lost. And that's when I finally got a working version of this thing, which I then uploaded to Facebook. There we go, Facebook. You get to check with me. Did anybody like that stuff? That's not the one. So here's how it ended up. That's the one. So here's what I ended up with. This is fresh to me, so I don't know if I like it. So that was my practicing today. I tried to record myself jamming and I encountered a whole bunch of problems that I had to fix. Now it's still, when listening back to it, I still kind of hate it. So there's more to fix there. But it's a day in my practice life and you asked for it. Other days I might just, grab the metronome and just maybe just have like a simple groove and try to. Something like that. So it's all kind of depends, but I think what I said in the beginning there, that I like to move sideways, that's key, because otherwise I'll lose inspiration. And if you really want to make fast progress, you got to be inspired on a daily basis and try to practice every day, right? And if you can't, then it's better to take a break until you get your inspiration back. But having a plan for being inspired on a daily basis is probably the best thing you can do if you want to make some quick progress. Let me just do that, see if you guys just yes, Sampai, it is a bit awkward, melodic minor. For how long do you warm up? Do you have a routine you apply until you feel you can start practicing? Cool question. My warm up, I would say, that's actually when I make the most progress. Because I don't know why. It's when I warm up, it is the best time for me to really play slow, and I mean really slow. You can never practice too much at a too slow tempo, if that makes sense. Even when I think I'm practicing slowly, I'm usually playing too fast, right? That is why sometimes I mess up when I play, because my practicing isn't perfect. Tone isn't perfect. Finger placement isn't perfect. Muting isn't perfect. The only way for it to always be perfect would be if I always could play like 50% below what I consider to be my comfortable tempo, right? But I don't, for some weird reason. And I think it's a problem among many guitarists. We always play too fast, basically. Even when we think we're practicing slowly, we're too fast. So when I warm up, for some reason, it's a bit easier to really play slowly. So I might play something that is demanding, but I'll play it so slowly that I can be totally relaxed. And I'm not gonna injure myself or anything like that. Could be like, I don't know. You see? That kind of thing. So it's basically some arpeggio practicing. So the goal would be to do that kind of stuff. But it's really the best when I warm up. You know, the first couple of minutes, that's the best opportunity to think about being totally relaxed. So I know some people just like, yeah, I play some rhythm tracks and then I play my solo, right? So the warm up would be like, okay, I'm warmed up after a couple of minutes, and now let's shred, right? I don't do that. I really try to, whatever I'm working on, I try to play that even slower than usual, even more relaxed than usual, with even better tone, better synchronization, with better muting. So warm up is really important, and it's all psychological. If I could control my mind better, I would basically program my mind to always be able to play at that tempo. But it seems usually that happens during warm up. So it's a very, very important bunch of minutes there at the beginning of every session. Oh, we got John Pena. That's another old-timer. I haven't seen you for a long time, man. How you been doing? ¿Cómo está? So I tried to speak French, and that went better. I'm a bit better in French than Spanish, but really good to see you. The fireman is on fire. I tried. Yeah, exactly. Would Become Rocker says, when I hear jam, I always think about Greg Howe jam over the Sunny backtrack. That's one of the best jams out there for sure. I tried playing on that one a few times, but its changes are too fast. I'm too crappy yet. Maybe someday. Cool. So yeah, I hope I answered your question there about the warm-up. How to find fresh motifs and ideas. That's a tricky one. So again, there's a huge pool of possible strategies for that. You can just borrow and steal and do whatever you want to. You can search within. You can use a call and response method to find the more melodic playing. Actually, the specific topic of this live stream, melodic shredding, I would say is a good way to actually to get some melodic ideas. I like to use GMC. That's a bit of a plug there, but the way you can sort of immediately grab a lick from a lesson. You don't have to learn the whole lesson. You can just watch the main video and you like the part at the end. You go to that part and you learn it, and then you move on, right? And that's also a way to sort of kind of steal and grab short bits and increase your melodic vocabulary. But for me, I'd say probably one of the most important ways of getting better at that is to, how should I say, when I choose a new backing track for every practice session, it gives me ideas, right? So I get a lot of ideas from the backing track, and I might, find a new backing track, and then I'll start playing, and I'll stumble upon something that feels a little bit new and fresh to me, and I'll try to develop that, making melodies out of that. So maybe, I don't know. So that's maybe what I came up with. I guess that's, it's melodic. And I'll kind of evolve that. So I think you can't really ask of yourself to constantly come up with new melodic ideas. That's too difficult. No one really does that. What you can maybe is come up with one thing per day. So if you manage to come up with one thing per day, then you really got to squeeze the juice out of that idea, right? And that's what I did here with these variations. So maybe, don't raise the bar too much. Try to just come up with one new melodic idea that you like, and then, throw it around, see if maybe you can use it as a basis for solo or composition, or just like I did here, come up with variations of it as you play and as you jam. Denise from Brazil, how you doing, mate? Cooking session. À bientôt. Merci. Cool. So I felt that my brain activity is starting to slow down a little bit here. Maybe I can I have these, it's called druvsocker in Swedish. It's just some sugar. Nothing innovative. But it can give me some energy if I'm lucky. Cool question there by Brian. How do you start shredding? Okay, so I just have to play a little bit now, see if energy comes back to me, so I can start pulling all these weird jokes. That's super important, by the way. See, it's coming already. I don't know. That's the one I tried to record today. I don't know why. I love this backing track, but it's hard to play over. I guess that's why it was a good challenge for me. Buddy Guy Rhythms. Try that one maybe. Come on, play for me. It's kind of nice. So, key of C. We spoke about Greg Howe, maybe this. Whoa, nice, I like it. I'm too tired to play now. But I'll say this one. Maybe this one could be a cool next challenge for me to record some jam or something over. So how do I start shredding? That's a cool question. Do you start from playing a melodic line, or you start from shredding from off the bat? Well, actually, that's the exact topic of today. A lot of times I will use, like a lick, just as one of these 3 example licks that I tat out for you. You can check the link in the description. I'll use one of these licks to kind of get started. It's not always conscious, like, oh, I need to play my lick to start shredding, but that's often the way it happens. I play, and then I'm off shredding, right? I think these are some good examples of that if you check the link in the description. But, a lot of times, being a guitarist, being a musician, you really have to work on your unpredictability. So you wouldn't want to have like a general rule for this. Sometimes it's good to start off the bat, especially maybe if you really want to shock the listeners, just throw those notes out. Sometimes you want to, or most of the times probably, you want to have a gradual build up. So you work your way towards climax, and shredding and playing fast can be really useful for building a climax. A lot of times that's really what I use it for. I'd say that's that would be my answer, to not really have a specific way of doing it. But these tools that I've given you today, they can be really helpful. Okay, guys, I think I need to stop now because my brain, you can probably tell if you scroll back the video, I was up here in the beginning and then, I'm on my way down now. You don't want to see me when I'm on the floor. But this was really fun. I hope you guys are going to tune in for the next streams. I hope you guys are going to practice these licks because they're awesome. And even if you can't play them yet, try them out. See if you can just grab a few notes again. I think even a beginner could play that, and it sounds awesome. It's one of my favorite licks. So, I hope it's useful for you, basically. And, I also hope that we can meet on the GMC site. We're starting a collaboration in this very moment. So if you check us out now, or if you do have an account there, please, chime in. We have a thread now where people are brainstorming what the next jam is going to be about, whether, it's shredding, blues, whatever. We want to see you in there. So that would be awesome. And practice, practice, practice. Thanks so much for tuning in.